I advise a subject matter expert, they start using GIS and they apply it, is actually making real impact.
I kind of like took a step back and realized that in some ways, like there's are other ways that you can, teach and build capacity and do outreach.
How my life, career trajectory changes because I learned GIS.
Academia, you have to do everything, but here I really need to focus on one part, and and then to find the coworker and colleagues and collaborate to solve the big problem.
Let's start with our first question. We were interested to know a little bit about your work experiences in the respective institutions. So we're wondering, like, in your opinion, what are the main advantages and disadvantages of working in research institute and industry?
Probably I can start first in here. Thank you so much, Armita and Mariam, for inviting us. I like this panel because it's a mix between the academic research and also the industry. I'm representing industry, of course, in here with ESRI. And then since I have about 4 minutes or 5 minutes, probably I'm gonna start first with my career journey. Okay, so I got my first degree in landscape architecture. That's the one that's I want to do. So I'm interested in landscape architecture. But then I more like to do the landscape architecture, not about designing, but more on the planning a landscape like that. So then after I work, I feel that I need to study more. So I took my master degree in landscape planning. So at the New South Wales University in Australia. And that's the one that I start to use GIS, and I start falling in love in GIS. And I feel that this is the career that I want to do the GIS. But then after I learned GIS, then time to find a job. So what should I do with this? Do I want to pursue to career into the research and then get another degree, or do I want to try working in the industry? So I decided that I want to apply what I learned directly to industry. So I was lucky. I directly apply and work for ESRI. So I was stationed in ESRI South Asia in Indonesia that time and Southeast Asia. So what I like about working with industry is I can apply what I learned directly into the real world cases. Okay? I can actually see if I advise somebody, if I advise a subject matter expert, they start using GIS and they apply it, is actually making real impacts. I can see the result on that. And it's a lot of them is really like how to create a map, how to share the map, how to actually make decision based on that map, how to monitor the dashboard, how to learn about the project in the story as a story map like that. So I feel that it's really like exciting, and there are many different projects, many different real world cases that need my help. So I was the GIS consultant before, and then I moved to ESRI in headquarters in US and become GIS instructor. And as an instructor, that's kind of like a mix, you know. So I'm with industry, but also teaching and helping them to learn. So I travel a lot around the world teaching and helping them to adopt the technology as well. And then sometimes after teaching, you hear from your student, hey, this is what I make. This is what the decision we use with the map that we created. So it's rewarding. I feel that that I can do that. Again, it's a variety of work projects. Always have the innovation, technology-driven advancement. I have to keep learning a new software, a new capabilities like that. That's the advantages, and I keep thinking that my professional growth on that, I still enjoy it because it's always new things like geo AI, things like that, right? But the disadvantages is I don't have much time to go deep into a particular topic. So if any of you really, really like a particular topic and want to go deep into that, so you probably want to go further to the research instead of doing the industry. I cannot dedicate too much time to pursue research. I also don't have autonomy over myself to kind of like manage my result and my time, because there is always like, hey, we work together, there is the deadline, there is the plan, this is what strategy that we're gonna make, like that. And sometimes is high pressure as well. Well, high pressure is everywhere, I guess, in industry and also in academic. Okay, but you mostly have to work in teams, and has to know that it's not only you managing a project, everybody will get involved as well.
I want to say, like, I started pursuing a PhD in part because at the time I was kind of like an F1 student. My OPT had run out. NASA Develop wasn't offering any sort of like sponsorship, and I was like, I'm not ready necessarily to go back to Honduras. And honestly, PhD was kind of like the easy way to like stay in the U.S. Legally. And at that point, like I had really developed like a love for GIS and like kind of like the implications of geospatial research and ultimately like how it could be applied to like all these different regions. But in my time with both with like NASA Develop and as I was doing my PhD research, I came to realize like the part that I really liked the most was almost being like that bridge between like, the research or the technical team and kind of like the stakeholders, kind of like what was happening there and stuff. When I started off college, in some ways, I always wanted to be like a college professor, and I thought like that's what I was going to do. But I kind of like took a step back and realized that in some ways, like are other ways that you can, teach and build capacity and do outreach. And one of the parts that I struggled with was kind of like, okay, like what titles kind of like fall into this role. And in order to do that, I ended up like going to all these like research company, not research company, like geospatial companies like ESRI, for example, or Planet. And I went down like available jobs, and I looked at the job descriptions to realize, oh, that's kind of like what I like. That fits me. Because oftentimes we use different vocabularies or different ways to describe our skill set and academia or in research as we do kind of like in the industry. I mean, there's huge overlap of skill sets, but it comes down to like how do you market it? How do you describe it? Once I got over that hump, I landed on this role of customer success manager, which in a nutshell is a way for clients who already like sign a contract or have a contract in place to make sure that they get the most value out of the products that they have, bought. And I love it because in some ways I am there like to teach them or build capacity, be like their trusted advisor. So in some ways I get to like benefit, like Canserina was saying, like from like their impact on the projects they're doing with our data, but also like going back to our product team and our tech team and kind of like feeding that loop, kind of like being that bridge, that magic spot that I enjoy very much. Prior to that, I was a GIS analyst. I liked doing it. I used a lot of ESRI software, created so many different map books, but at the end of the day, I didn't want to do that, like every day of the week. But I still like to jump in and stay up to date with some of this geospatial software. I don't necessarily do a lot of the research, but I get to live vicariously through like our different customer clients. And given the geospatial background, I feel like I can give some very meaningful feedback. One thing that I think, kind of steered me away from academia was kind of like it's hard kind of like having some visibility of what happens after you get that PhD, right? You kind of like have, all these different postdocs with no necessarily guarantees for like how long they're going to last, if you can get a tenure job position. And I found that incredibly daunting. And I didn't necessarily know how to make the leap either, because I felt like a lot of the resources that I found on campus were essentially geared towards keeping me on that, I don't know, like almost like academia escalator, like, oh, I know so-and-so who works at a research institute or a postdoc opportunity that's happening. But it was making me nervous, not knowing where I would land 2 years or 3 years from now, given that, like the short-term possibility of those postdocs. So I made the leap and it's worked out great and I love it. I do miss the research side of things, just kind of like the theoretical, cerebral side of things, but I do love being, sometimes set aside with it on the trenches with, essentially turning, geospatial data or theory into something that's actionable in the ground that can affect, the budget of an ad company, or where an NGO might ultimately invest their resources to ensure that they have like the most bang for their buck. So and having said that, even though like I left academia, I feel like in some ways I'm always looking for ways to scratch that itch. For example, at Planet, I just finished a 6-week course on like intro to remote sensing and GIS, and like we recorded it online. So like I'll update that 1 year from now. So at the end of the day, it's like figure out what it is that you like about what you're currently doing, and I'm sure you can find a way to keep doing it in whether it's in this industry or whether it's on the research academia side of things.
So actually, I said some, some key answers before, but, as the Kurnia started something, her own experience that prompted me to, immediately give some answer from my personal life experience. Yeah. So, I was also not, I was not a very good student. In fact, my academic, result in undergraduate level and master's level was below average. It's very honestly speaking. But, in my country, in this culture, in my culture, nobody actually at my time, at least at my time, nobody was never thought that, they can do something like PhD with a poor academic performance. But how my life, career trajectory changes because I learned GIS. Like, when I just finished my bachelor degree, at that time, there was worldwide recession, job market was, very shaky. And I was really struggling to serve for my survival. And I was doing some PT consultancy job. Mostly those were, field trip, data collection from the field. But at the time, I just bought internet and I found that there is a program of GIS online program that is, that was given by Lund University, Sweden. And I took that opportunity. So I was working, I was getting real life experience. At the same time, I was learning GIS. And that with those experience and GIS technique and data available from my work, workplaces, I collected, I could publish a ISI journal paper from my first master's degree. And then I published second paper, second journal paper from my second master's, which is an online program. So that created my career, shifted my career from a very, job looking, post consultant to flourish as a scholar and to shift my career to academia, right? So my understanding why GIS is so useful, because when someone learns GIS, first of all, they can get a lot of available data, which is very important for, doing research. And for very early career researcher or people who are just learning research, they're always, get stuck to to know how to do the research and what useful techniques they can apply for the research. Here, GIS make the opportunity. You can use a lot of available tools and techniques that can easily fit your research question. So you have data, you know the tools and techniques, now do some work and you can publish paper. And this is not only me. When, my publication and my GIS experience gave me opportunity to work in Nepal, and there I see the same story. It's not only me, a lot of other folks who have not done their PhD, they have just done master's degree from country like Bangladesh, Pakistan, and they are not from very reputed university. They are doing science there. If you just go to the profile of, Geospatial Division of International Center for Integrated Mountain Development, which is located in Nepal, you'll see there are a lot of folks, they are geospatial scientists. I will say they are scientists, but they have not even a degree outside of their country. Usually at my time, if people don't get degree from Europe and USA or Australia, some developed country, they are not valued much. But they're working as a scientist, right? Anyway, that's my personal story that prompted, I got prompted to share that after hearing from Kurnia, okay? So what was the question? Now I want to answer that. Yeah, my experience as in a research institute, because just after finishing my PhD, I started my postdoc in Oak Ridge National Laboratory. So I see some clear difference from academic postdoc or PhD. Or I have seen some postdoc working in academia, or also I worked as a postdoc in University of Buffalo very shortly for 3 months. So I see some clear difference. In national lab or research institution, we get a big team. It's not just under one PI. We got opportunity to work under multiple PI, okay? And we got opportunity for collaboration. I was assigned for a single project. Then I found that I have a spare time and I expanded my work to other projects. In this way, I could have, I got the opportunity to diversify my skill set. And there's some leadership opportunity as well. Like I know especially about Oak Ridge National Laboratory, they have LDRD fund, Lab Development Fund, which postdoc can apply as a PI. And previously SEED project was not supposed to be, led by postdoc, but recently they have changed their resolution. And now postdoc can be a PI for SEED grant. So there are a lot of, vertical and horizontal opportunity here. This is the advantage. And for research lab or national lab, I would say that their payment is very good. Compensation compared to the university postdoc, that's very clear anyway. But anyway, I understand that compensation should not be the only objective to work as a postdoc. Your objective should be, where your work match very well and what is your future, right? What you love to do. And then for support service facilities, it's always, ubiquitous in research lab. Like if I have to go to conference, if I need a new computer, if I need any equipment, here, funding is not an issue, okay? And the research lab or national lab, they are actually in between academia and industry, I would say that, because they try to scale up their research to the industry. Like sometimes academic research, they're very focused to their academic rigorousness, but here you can go for some technical paper. You don't need to, very focused to prepare a great journal paper, but it should be a scale up to the industry. They keep in mind, right, that before doing their research, that how industry can, take it. But there are some, I would not say disadvantages, but it's the limitation. And I mean, sometimes we need to accept it. Like as a postdoc, a lot of people think that, okay, this is I chosen the postdoc position because I needed some healing period of time, after doing the, stressful PhD work. And I wanted to carry forward my, ongoing research work from PhD to get published. So I joined as a postdoc. Anyway, so from that perspective, I should say that it can be the case that you cannot work within your niche. You may need to, work some project which is not very interesting for you. And publication is not the only goal. So if you have an academic goal in future, you will have to take your own initiative to make the publication, okay? Yeah, but so for me, I focus publication as well. That's why I'm going to, join as a tenure track professor in University of North Alabama this August. If I had to compromise that, if I supposed to compromise my publication, maybe it could be difficult for me to get an academic position. I want to add, if you don't mind, just, I know there are other panelists. I just want to add that, learning GIS, you will never feel irrelevant. Like as a graduate student, we always, are very get stuck or very overwhelmed with that. What will be our next venture? What will be our next career path? Is this field is really good to get a great career? The thing is, we get job, everybody, like some places, because we are relevant for that field or really relevant for that position. Like some people get job in R1, some people get job in, just industry, but relevance matter. If someone learn GIS I mean, they never become irrelevant. They have some relevance at some point. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm truly honored to and also grateful for the invitation, and I'm really appreciate for all the organizers. So, but as a employee of a national lab, I wanted to underscore that the views expressed during this panel discussion are solely my personal opinions and should not interpreted as a reflective of what else stands. Okay. So I also had a postdoc experience in a different lab, PNL, but already I think that Kazi covered the many part. So I will skip that, postdoc experience, but I'll just maybe emphasize some the advantages working in the lab and also some kind of challenges you may confront. So the first and foremost, maybe the access to the cutting edge facility, and the resources, including the data. Maybe. So as you know, ORNL has exascale supercomputers called Frontier, which is the world's fastest supercomputer. So who may don't know about it, yeah, exascale computing refers to the computing system capable of calculating at a 10 to the 18th operation per second, which is amazing. And the lab is leading a lot of different fields like neutron and nuclear power research facility that includes the high flux isotope reactor and so on. And this access to the world-class facilities can significantly enhance the research capabilities and allow for more innovative experiments. So including modeling, simulation, and machine learning AI to resolve global challenges such as climate change. That's a big plus. And as already Kazi mentioned, it's more teamwork and it's collaborative environment. So in maybe in academia, you have to do everything, but here I really need to focus on one part and and then define the coworker and colleagues and collaborate to solve the big problem. So that's a kind of big difference working. I mean, still, even in the academia, you can do that, but you have kind of the busy working on two different many things, right? So that's a different environment. And national laboratories usually benefit from stable funding relatively. So it has the long-term financial stability compared to the industry, that's how I would say. And the research institute, like Kurnia, also offer some opportunity for career advancement, including a mentorship program and training workshops and professional development initiatives, so which is helpful. And that's advantages. And some challenges is it's not only I think national labs issue, but any large organization have the similar issue. So also I worked at the United Nations NGO, and these big institutions can be very bureaucratic, meaning it including a lot of complex administrative processes or regulation that can sometimes impede your work or research. So that's one part. And also I concur the Canserina point. So supporting the institutional vision is a high priority. So researchers in a national lab may have a less autonomy compared to those in academia. So while professional career development like research portfolio, publication is highly encouraged, but it may be not a high priority depending on the role in the lab. So projects usually may be dedicated by institutional the priority and the mandate. So that way you need to invest your own time to develop your own the research. So that's the second part. And geographical constraint, meaning as you know, the most of national lab located maybe a little bit far from the big city. So that geographical reason, which may not, desirable for all people. So that can limit, opportunity. It's maybe depending on person preference and actually family reason. However, after the pandemic, national lab provide workplace flexibility. So in 1NL, some positions are eligible for remote or hybrid work arrangement, pre-approved locations. Yeah, that's